Hi, what's up, guys? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC 240 from Edmonton, Canada, as Max Holloway faces off against Frankie Edgar for the UFC Featherweight Championship of the World, as Max comes back down to the division after having a pop-up at 155. So yeah, I'm about to get into that card in a little bit of a second here. Coming off UFC San Antonio, which was a rough night. The only real positive I can take from UFC San Antonio was the fact that I got the last three fights right. Everything else was a bit of a bloodbath. Didn't lose too much betting. Didn't really go that high in DraftKings on it. So it was a low-level event, but still, it was rough going. So hopefully I can kind of rebound with a better event here. Overall, as a pay-per-view, I don't think it's overly strong. I think there's a few decent matchups throughout. There's a couple of guys I'm thoroughly looking forward to seeing. If you've been following me on Twitter, you've seen I've been putting a couple of tweets out about a few people that I really like. So I'm interested to be talking about them very, very soon. The video if you can. Smash the like button. You're doing fantastic with that. I've got a lot of new subscribers, so thank you for coming subscribing to my channel. And just if anything you want to ask, anything you want to critique, by all means, come and let me know. I know there's some people that don't like it when I talk too much, and that's just me. I start talking about fights and I lose track of time, everything. I know there's some people that like that, though. That's why the timestamps are there. If the timestamps are there, you can pick a fight that you don't want me to talk about, that I might spend 3-4 minutes of your time talking about, and move on to something you have more interest in. So the timestamps are there if you don't want to hear me ramble on, because I do it. I've tried stopping it. I can't, and I'm not. I can't please everyone. So I'm just going to kind of do what I do, and hopefully most of the people can enjoy that. So, yeah. One little thing, I will apologise. I've got neighbours who are doing work in the house, so you might hear a few bangs. If it's a little bit too loud, I apologise. But I've got a free house. My daughter's out. My fiance and that's out. So it was basically just try and get out right now. So and there was another one just there. So yeah, smash the like button, subscribe if you can. I'm on a mission to get to 3,000 subs by the end of the year. I think we can definitely make it. Let's try and help me out with that. So we're going to be starting off in the heavyweight division, but actually with two brand new, I don't want to say sparkling heavyweights, but two new heavyweights nonetheless that are fighting here. One from Brazil, one from Canada. We've got Giacomo Lemos against Tana Bosa, and I suppose I should start with Lemos, who has a 6-0 record. Like I say, 29 years old, fighting out of Brazil, with 5 wins via knockout, 1 via submission. 6-0 record, as you can expect coming from out of there in Brazil. I don't really think he's fought tough opposition, to be honest with you. I think the combined records, remember looking into it, was like 44. It might have been even like 44-44. I could be wrong there, because my maths isn't great, but I know his opponents have lost a hell of a lot of fights as well. Like I say, most of his wins are via KO, so that tells you that he's more of a kind of stand-up fighter. He fights behind his kicks a lot. I think that's kind of one of his main attributes. He uses his kicking. He fights behind that. He will throw leg kicks more than he will throw his kind of hands, especially leg kicks and front kicks, and there's a few side kicks thrown in there as well. He's best when he's on top. When the fight's on the mat, he's got some decent ground and pound off that. I think that's another one of his strong points. And he never really stops when he's on top, but he does get sloppy, and he does leave openings even for guys who are not have great records. He gives them opportunities. He has a lot of flaws in his game. I think he's very flat-footed. I think his technique kind of lacks a little bit. And just in general, I just don't think he's a kind of high-caliber fighter. But on the mat, he's okay. And obviously, as a heavyweight, if you've got that ground and pound position, you can rain some big strikes down in there. But I think one of his big things in this fight is after the first round, he's going to get super sloppy, and he's going to leave openings. When we move on to Tana Bosa there, he's a 16-5-1 record with 8 wins via TKO, 2 by submission. And to be fair, like his 3 losses, he lost to Tim Hager way back in the day, got knocked out in that fight. But his last 3 losses are coming against guys. He's gone over to Russia and fighting them over there, and that's never an easy thing. And he's fighting. I don't want to say there was a couple of kind of unanimous decisions in there, but there was a split decision in there, which I thought he fought a really good fight. But he's gone over there and he's given them a good fight nonetheless. Not your most kind of super explosive of heavyweights. I don't think he's one of those guys with heavy knockout power. But one thing I do think he is fairly decent is he has a really good kind of gas tank for the heavyweight division, and that's one of his kind of main attributes in my opinion. Solid cardio, pretty much, and durability. But he likes to kind of keep the fight on the feet. Not one for really taking it to the ground that much. So he will kind of use a slow kind of technique, striking technique to kind of keep the fight up there. And I think he's another one with good leg kicks. He really kind of throws his commitment into his shots with his leg kicks especially, and he will follow it up with some nice hand combinations as well. And like I say, he throws his hands well after throwing the kicks. But he is very, very aggressive, and sometimes he can let his opponents kind of lead the dance, to say the least. So, it's a weird fight. I think how I kind of see it going, this one could be a bit of a stinker, but I think Bosa, over the 15 minutes, can just completely outwork someone like Lemos. I think Lemos has got a good five, maybe 7 minutes, but I think Bosa's just going to outwork him for 15 minutes and win a very kind of slow-paced decision, in my opinion. So, and he's got a lot more experience than what Lemos has as well. He's got like over 20 fights compared to the 6 that Lemos has. And like I say, I think he's fought far better caliber position as well. So, I'm going to go Tyler Bosa via decision in that one there. Eric Koch against Kyle Stewart is up next. I mean, Eric Koch, I forgot about that guy. And that's one of the guys many years ago in the WEC that was coming up that looked fantastic. And it's definitely, I don't want to say he's teetered off, but he's just not looked the same. He's kind of, he's only 30 years old, so it's not like he's a old guy, but he's had a lot of fights, 20 fights, and they're not against bad opposition at all, especially in the UFC. He's got some really good wins in there, some good fights in there, I should say, with some really top quality opposition. You look at Lamas, where that was rough. Actually, that was a really rough fight. He took some elbows in that one, and that's going back 6 years ago. That's crazy that this guy's been in UFC that long, but he's not had that many fights. It's like one fight a year it kind of averages out as. Lost to Horie. His 2 wins against Shane Campbell and Rafael Oliveira. And he's coming off 2 losses to Bobby Green, where he got outworked completely, and Clay Guida, which is not... Even Clay Guida a couple of years ago had opportunities where you could like get Clay Guida pretty much, but he got taken down in that fight a couple of times by Clay. Really got kind of stifled on it. He got passed on, and then in the last fight, he just got completely outworked by Bobby Green in that fight there, and got lost a unanimous decision. But I don't think he's fell that far where he's losing to a guy like Kyle Stewart. Kyle Stewart is predominantly a striker with not the greatest kind of takedown defense, which is surprising coming from the lab and the people that he can work with there. But Chantra Counter, to be fair, Chantra Counter is actually he's going to turn it to be a really hard out for a lot of fighters. Showed that in his last fight against Nardiev, showed it in the Kyle Stewart fight. Stewart came in there on short notice. But yeah, like I said, I'm not super confident in Eric Koch, but I'm going to take him here. I think he's on the feet. He could. I think there's a big difference here in height difference, so he can maybe come up and hit that chin right in the bottom there and catch him with some shots. He comes from the southpaw stance as well. I think he can use takedowns, which I think is one of Kyle Stewart's biggest flaws in his game, is he can get taken down. You can move to side mounting this guy. You can control him. And he did that in the Shane Campbell fight, who was another tall guy. I want to say he was maybe a similar size to Kyle Stewart, maybe not as big as what. Let me check that out. Actually, Shane Campbell, he was 6 feet. So Stewart is a little bit bigger, but he managed to get underneath and get the takedowns through off that. And win the fight through his kind of takedowns. I don't feel super confident in picking Kyle Stewart, so I'd rather go the other way there. And I know that Coke's been out for a long time. He's not fought since January last year. Still comes from a good camp out there in Milwaukee. When he puts it together, he's a solid striker, solid fighter, I should say. I just think he's got more tools to kind of win the fight than what Kyle Stewart has. So I'm going to pick Eric Koch to win. Does he stop him? I actually think I'll pick him via submission, actually. So I'll pick Eric Koch for the win there. Moving on, this is one that's kind of garnered a lot of interest. I've got a lot of people that have messaged me about this fight. Gillian Robertson against Sarah Frota. I'll come out straight away and say, straight away, like, when I heard about this matchup a while back, I was on the side of Sarah Frota. And then I'm one of these people, I will watch a few fights, not really take too much out of it, then I'll go back and watch it and try and pick at it a lot more than what I originally do. And I thought, yeah, Frota I think is a good pick in this one. Then as the fights come closer, I've watched a lot. I actually watched a couple of fights today. I watched what fights did I watch? I watched the McCann one. I watched the Macedo one. I watched the Lavinia Souza one with Frota, and a couple other ones with Frota where she was against the kind of trash cans out there. And it's an interesting fight. I've had, like I said, I've had 5 to 7 people, I think, message me strictly about this fight, which is it was interesting. Usually I get people always messaging me about fights, but this was one I wasn't expecting to really talk all that much about. Gillian Robertson, to me, still super young in the sport. She's like 23, maybe even 24 years old. I think she's progressed decently out there in the UFC especially. I mean, she's 3 wins. She's finished via submission. So it's fairly obvious where she wants this fight to go. When you look at Frota and you look at her only loss as well as to via submission, where she got hit with a kind of opportunistic armbar against Mayra Bueno Silva. If we're just looking at these two, talking about Sarah Frota, she like, the one thing you can take away from her last fight is that she missed weight badly. She was humongous against Lavinia Souza. She missed by 8 or 9 pounds in that one. Looked physically bigger, looked like she was in a different weight class than Souza. But to me, she's very slow, very flat-footed. But what she has got, she's got good length to her. And with length usually comes decent... not decent power, it's just like that awkward kind of length, especially in the women's thing, where if she can hit you from a distance away and have some pop in it, it's going to hurt. And she hurt Souza a few times in that one. She sprawled a few times good in that Souza fight, but she also gave up some really easy takedowns. And the one thing that I like about Gillian Robertson is I've seen her hit double legs. And I think one of her biggest specialities is actually a single leg takedowns, which you don't see too many of the women really committing to, but she's one that commits to the single leg. She did it in the Macedo fight. She did it in the McCann fight. So she commits to those opportunities to get the single leg and take the fight to the ground. But like I say, she can put you against the cage, take you down through off there. On the feet, I think she's playing with fire if she stays up too long here, because we haven't really seen all that much from Robertson. The one time we did was Mayra Bueno Silva, where she was getting hit on exits with elbows. She was getting hit with spinning back kicks. Macedo was catching her with a lot of strikes as well. She got swept a couple of times. I moved her in a couple of those fights as well, where she can get swept a little bit. But she's very dogged in the ground, super dogged. So the way I kind of see this fight is if Gillian Robertson wants to win the fight, she has to take the fight to the ground and keep her there. And she will have opportunities to do that, because I don't think that Frota's one of these people that's going to make super huge improvements in that area of her game. So if Robertson gets her down, will she have the opportunity to get submissions? I think so. Souza caught her in nearly a couple of armbar situations, got her back for the rear naked choke, I think, at the end of the second. And that seems to be the move that Robertson excels in. It's getting the back and getting the rear naked choke. But like I say, if this is on the feet, Robertson's going to get hurt. If this is on the ground, I think that Robertson will get it there. Frota initially, I think, will get it back to her feet. But I think eventually Robertson could catch her on the ground there. But like I say, I'm not in the position where I'm going to bet Gillian Robertson. I like her with plus money beside her name. But yeah, I'm just not optimistic that Frota's made that many changes in the game where she's going to stop takedowns. And I do think it's Gillian Robertson's better way to kind of win the fight. But on the feet, she has to be really super careful because Frota, like I said, she throws at length and she is going to be a bigger girl, I think, than what Robertson is. So, like I said, initially I was on Sarah Frota. I've changed. I've went to Gillian Robertson. I think she's just going to win the fight through takedowns, could possibly get a submission. But she's never been to a decision. She's not been to a decision in a long time. Cynthia Calvillo was the last time she went to decision. So that was 2016. So it's a long time ago. Yeah, is this actually this fight at 125? I think it might be actually. Yeah, and the Frota was trying to make that 115 limit. So maybe like with added weight on here, she might even be even better. Like I say, I'm going to stick with Robertson via submission / decision. But betting wise, I'm one of these people that always bet the dog in the kind of women's fight. I would never bet a kind of heavy favourite unless it's like a heavy favourite that you don't see losing at all. I've did fairly well with betting women's MMA with underdogs and so on. I'm not mad at a shot on Frota, but I'm going to pick Gillian Robertson. I'll pick her via submission just to get the official pick out there for that one. So I think that's the prelims out of the way. Moving on to the televised prelims here, we've got Alexandre Pantoja against Deiveson Figueiredo. Good fight. I like Figueiredo as a fighter. I faded him last time with Juicy Formiga. I just thought that was a really bad style matchup for him, and it showed out that way, where Figueiredo really the takedown prowess of kind of Juicy Formiga was just too much for him, and that's what initially beat him, because the stand up he was getting kind of not picked apart. He was getting hit first, and then he was trying to counter, but it was just whiffing with shots a little bit. But like I say, Formiga won that fight through his grappling. And that's kind of how you expect Formiga to win fights. He's not going to win predominantly with his striking. And this one here, like I say, he is super aggressive. He has takedowns of his own as well. You look at the Bopo fight, you look at the Moraga fight, he took those fights to the mat. I think he even got a takedown in Jared Brooks off the top of my head, if I can remember there. So, yeah, the guy's got some big power. He's very kind of domineering in his approach. He's like one of those pressure fighters where he doesn't land super amounts of strikes per minute, but when he does, you kind of feel it. He's a big burly, not a big burly flyweight, but he is a tough one. You can see he fits the division very, very well. A hard, just looks kind of a stone kind of built fighter in that division, where it's very, very dangerous. But when you look at Pantoja, I think I've been a big fan of Pantoja for a long time. Even in the show, even before the show, actually, I really enjoyed watching him fight. Got the honour of seeing him fight in Glasgow against Neal Seery, where he just lit up Neal Seery with his striking and kind of mixed up in there with the takedowns and passes and so on. But yeah, really slick, solid striker. I think he fights out of the kind of an orthodox striker. I think both these guys are similar size. He definitely has the higher output striking wise with these two guys, and I like that a little bit more, because I think he can diverse his strikes a little bit with his leg kicks, with his body kicks, with his combination striking. But he has to be careful in those instances of being caught in the space where maybe Deiveson could catch him with a big shot through that. He's a guy that's also been taken down a couple of times. I know the Moreno fight, he got taken down after he was kind of beating Moreno up in the feet. But and even Wilson Hayes got him down kind of momentarily in that fight last time out. But his striking is very sharp, and I think it's just overall very, it is better than what Davidson is. But Davidson holds that power where you have to be super, super careful. And like I said, we've seen things there with his ground game as well, with when he rear naked Ilka Sasaki, Neal Seery caught in there. So well-rounded fighter. And I bet Alexandre Pantoja. I really like Figueiredo. I think that if they keep the flyweights around it, he will really come into that division once he kind of gets his feet. And he's only been in for 3 or 4 fights. So I just like Pantoja in a very close fight here. I think he will get more output off. I think if he wants, he might kind of counter the aggression of Deiveson with some takedowns and maybe keep him there for a little bit, but then go back to the feet. And I think And like I said, I bet Panto. I got him at dog odds. I think it was plus 110. I missed out on the early numbers. You're plus 120. I think maybe plus 130. But got dog odds nonetheless. I like that fight for him, but it is a tough fight for him. Next up, we've got Gavin Tucker against Seung Choi. Another interesting fight. I'm interested to see Gavin Tucker come back. Let's just talk about his last fight, because that kid got bludgeoned to death by Rick Glenn. I mean, he absorbed a crazy amount of strikes in that one, like where he was just getting caught with everything that Rick Glenn was throwing. He was getting caught with every takedown attempt that Rick Glenn was attempting. And overall, just absorbed so many strikes. It was actually kind of crazy the amount of strikes he absorbed in that fight, where I thought the corner could have easily brought him out of that fight. I thought that the referee could have stopped that fight. You obviously go back to Sam Cecilio one where he just outworked him with kind of flashier, better striking, and outstruck him to win that UD. But then, like I say, got wrecked by Rick Glenn. That was maybe a big step up, because Rick Glenn is a guy who's been around in the sport for a long, long time, and has, like I say, he's been around a long time, veteran of the sport. Now he's got Seung Choi, who, even though he lost very comprehensively against Movsar Evloev, who I rate very highly, by the way. I think he's going to go a long way. Heard that he actually has a fight lined up, speculating against Mike Grundy in China at the end of August. That would be crazy. That'd be a really good fight, because both guys are very, very good wrestlers there. But we'll see if that gets officially announced. That fight was, I don't want to say it was close, because it was a 30-27 for Evloev, but striking with both guys was fairly close. Just the one thing that was very, very heavy in one corner was Evloev's grappling. Got 3 to 5 takedowns off the top of my head. I watched that fight. That was one of the kind of other ones I watched. But got takedowns and really just had position the whole entire fight there for that one. What I like about Seung Choi, and this is kind of going more off, there was a little bit she took from that fight with Evloev, but the ones beforehand, I think he is a really good prospect. Like I said last week with Jinsu's son, and I maybe looked into that a little bit too much, because I thought Son was going to do very well, but Bautista looked very impressive. Very, very impressive, actually. That's a guy to keep an eye on. Just don't be too patient. He should lead the dance in this fight. If he can lead the dance and land the strikes, he will put Tucker under immense pressure. He plants his feet. He throws some heavy, heavy power shots. He's also been a fighter that I've seen dropped in the past by having defensive frailties with his, obviously, defensive striking. And he keeps his head kind of very still on the centre line. It doesn't really move, so you know where his head's always going to be. Really good low kicks and good hand speed. That's what I really, really like. Good distance fighter. That's another thing I liked about him. But and he's got solid takedown defense. It just didn't really show against Evloev, because he's a beast and he's going to be, I think, a ranked fighter one day. So I've got Seung Choi here. I think he's going to land the bigger shots. I think he's going to have the higher output. I think this could be a little bit of a firefight in stages, because not unless Tucker has really worked on his defensive striking, because he needs to, because he got, like I say, bludgeoned against Rich Glenn last time out. I like Seung Choi in this one. I just think he's going to land the bigger, better strikes. I think he's going to maintain distance. I think if Gavin Tucker gets too aggressive, he's going to get ate with counter shots from Choi. And like I say, I think a big weapon in this one is just the fact that Choi can maintain distance and catch him with shots, where I think Tucker has to get a little bit aggressive to really get his shots and get some of the respect off, to get the respect off Choi. So I like Seung Choi in this one too. Maybe when we've seen that Tucker's very, very tough, maybe too tough for his own good. But I would rather go with the Korean here. So I'm going to go Seung Choi. Maybe stoppage. If not, I've got a fairly comprehensive, well, not a fairly comprehensive, maybe a 29-28 decision for Seung Choi there. Hakeem Dawodu against, I'm gonna do this because I've been watching his fights all morning. Horie Yoshinori. Yeah, if you go watch Pancrase on UFC Fight Pass, you will see what I'm saying there. It's like I've been watching that his fights all morning, and the announcer of that's always funny. Watched Horie. I think I watched 7 fights of his this morning. Kind of like what I see, but it's against very low caliber opposition, if I'm being honest as well. What I like, he's got really fast hands. He's got some power behind it. He goes to the body really well. But like I said, he's faced pretty low caliber opposition, and he's moving into the UFC here against someone in Dawodu who I think's got, I don't want to say a similar skill set, but he's more of a kind of very, very good technical striker. When I watched Horie's fights, I watched the one where he knocked out Tanaka, which was his last fight on Pancrase, where Tanaka he really caught him with a beautiful counter shot as Tanaka was kind of entering the zone of in close, caught him with a big right hand, put him out. The Takita fight, he kind of caught him up against the cage, punched him in the ear, and he fell and hit the ground. Then I seen him actually knocked out by Izzy Tamura, and if you remember Izzy Tamura, he's the guy that came into the UFC years ago, fought TJ Dillashaw, Rafael Assunção in a marching order. So that's a couple of tough fights to get in the UFC. And I watched the Sugiyama fight, I watched the Kimura fight, the Fujisaki fight, and a good patient striker with some good power, some good combinations, some good speed, attacks the body, got some low kicks as well. But when I look at this matchup, I just see Hakeem Dawodu being more crisper, more faster, just better everywhere. And I think that Hakeem's starting to find his feet in the UFC after that initial disappointment of his fight with Danny Henry, where he went in there and just beat up Austin Arnett for 15 minutes and then really showed his output and his skills on the feet against Kyle Bochnak, who's kind of as tough as they come. But he got picked apart in that fight by Hakeem Dawodu. Gave up a couple of takedowns. That was, I think, Bochnak's one of his way to try and win that fight. I don't think Horie. I can't remember. I remember listening to that all morning. I can't remember how you pronounce it, but Horie, that's it. I don't think he's going to look for takedowns. So this to me is going to be a striking affair, and that's just one winner in my opinion. And that's Hakeem Dawodu. I think he's got more power, more speed, just a better overall striker. But if they get into exchanges, then maybe the power of Horie could come in here and actually show and maybe hurt him. I just don't like. I don't think it's a good matchup for him. I think he's coming in short notice as well. So I've got Hakeem Dawodu. I'm going to pick him via TKO. I think he's going to get his first UFC finish here. So Hakeem Dawodu for the W there. And the main fight of the prelims here, we've got Alexis Davis against Viviane Araujo. I've got Araujo here. I think she's too fast. She's a little bit too vicious. She really surprised me in her UFC debut, where she beat down on Talita Bernardo. She got takedowns in that fight, which I thought Bernardo was going to use. So she's shown that she's got some strength there. She's got some really good striking, and she's got knockout power, one punch knockout power, and you don't see that all too much. At a high level, really keeps a good pace. I was thoroughly impressed with her UFC debut with Viviane Araujo. And then you look at Alexis Davis, I think she's slow. I think her head there, she gets hit. The Jennifer Maia one, she got hit with a lot of shots. The Tsakrukyan one, she got shoot pretty much just the boys and best fight picks say that was just one of those fights where she was just hit and she couldn't get close in to really get anything substantial off against Tsarukyan. What's the best way to win this fight? Maybe get her to the ground, use her jiu-jitsu, but it's not something she does all that much, and we have seen in the past submitted as well. For me here, I just think that I think this is going to be a striking affair, and I think the better, more crisper, solid striker with better with better speed and better defensive frailty is Viviane Araujo. I think that I really think that Davis will start getting let up a little bit by this girl's combinations, and she could potentially take the fight to the ground as well. So I think on a card like this, I think Viviane Araujo, I know she's only had one fight in the UFC, But I think she's a pretty safe pick here, in my opinion. So I'll go Araujo to win a 15-minute decision. Moving on to the pay-per-view card, and this is, I don't know, I mean, this is not never ever a pay-per-view fight. Marc-Andre Barriault against Krzystof Jotko. This is an interesting fight because actually I thought that Barriault gave Andrew Sanchez some problems in that fight. I thought he would get taken down a little bit easier than they originally showed, and he did get taken down a few times. But there was parts in that fight where he was hurting Andrew Sanchez on the feet, and that is his main kind of path to victory. Is for Barriault is keeping it on the feet and hurting with power strikes. He's did that in many of his fights outside of the kind of UFC, where he will use that kind of, he will bull rush forward and look to kind of brawl with you. And if you start brawling with this guy, he's shown that he's got knockout power. Shown that knocked out Adam Hunter, Kornberger. Like I went on about this guy the last time he had his UFC debut against Sanchez. I just thought Sanchez was just a little bit too. I thought against Sanchez, but I thought the right guy definitely won, for sure, definitely won. Then you've got someone in Krzystof Jotko who he's going to look for takedowns here. There's no doubt about it that he won't want to stand with Barriault for long periods of this fight, because if he does, we've seen that he's been chin checked in a few fights. Tavares knocked him out, Uriah Hall knocked him out, and then it's fairly obvious he went back to kind of what his bread and butter was back in the day when he was winning fights. You look at the Askham fight, you look at the Bradley Scott fight, you look at the Troying fight. He used his takedowns there, and he's got a decent takedown game. Once he kind of abandoned that, he started getting beat up pretty badly, and you've seen that the guy's got frailties with his chin. Now I think he's a decent striker, not a decent striker. He's okay, but he kind of did enough in that last fight against Amadovsky where he landed kind of the more purposeful strikes, but his takedown and his passing game was what won him that fight. So it's fairly obvious here how this fight's going to go. It's can Marc-Andre Barriault keep his back off the mat? Because if he can, I think he can find the chin of Krzystof Jotko. Or in a fight on the feet, I think they could both land shots, but I think the bigger, harder shots will be landed by Barriault. I was pretty confident years ago that Jotko was going to be a good fighter. I'm not that confident anymore. I think Barriault can be clinched up against. I think he's very strong. He can reverse position, land some big shots himself. I would rather go with Barriault here, and I feel kind of dirty saying that, I'll be honest with you. It's a guy actually who, it seems like a lot of social media and some of the things I've read on pages that Barriault is going to be a big kind of favourite, underdog favourite, so people will bet him this week. I'm not in that. I'm not on that, but I'm going to side with underdog here. If he can keep it standing, if he gets taken down and kept there for large parts of the fight, Jotko will win. But I'm going to take Barriault in a fight where I think he lands the more purposeful shots and wins the fight through that set. Maybe a TKO. I am going to go, I think my official pick will be decision though for Marc-Andre Barriault. But like I say, I don't think I've got the best read in that one, but we'll see. This is a fight or a fighter that I've been super looking forward to watching again since his UFC debut. When the lightweight division with Olivier Aubin-Mercier against Arman Tsarukyan. I'm going to start off with Tsarukyan because I am super high on this kid. Even though he came into the UFC and he lost to Islam Makhachev, where, I mean, first thing what I'll say is 22 years old. He's moved himself to American Top Team, where his main training partner for this fight, he has been a big training partner for Dustin Poirier. So he's working day in, day out with a UFC champion. Huge. Obviously, he was at Tiger Muay Thai beforehand, where he was there for a couple of years, I think. I think he won, I remember saying in the broadcast, he won like a tournament where he got a year's free, where he got to stay and he got trained and all that jazz. And I just really like this kid. I really do. I'm a big fan. love his kind of kicking game. What I took away from the Islam fight, I think I don't want to say they underestimated Tsarukyan, because I think they knew what they were going to get with this guy. But I think it was a lot tougher than they initially thought it was going to be. Not saying that like Tsarukyan got taken down, I want to say 3 to 4 times in that fight. But you're against someone in Makhachev who's a world champion grappler. And he's got so much more experience in the UFC over someone like Tsarukyan. So having Makhachev, who's a ranked fighter now, as your first fight in the UFC, that's a big thing. And he didn't look out of his depth in that fight either. First, I thought he won the first round. And one of the judges' scorecards, they thought the same. Other 2 judges thought it was 30-27. I don't know about that. But he came out initially, nice kick game, got into kind of grappling exchanges with Makhachev. And like I say, in that first round, he had the better of the exchanges, where Makhachev got him down, he reversed the position, got the back. Makhachev looked super hard to take down. Tsarukyan kept on going for it, got him down, planted him. Maybe one. I actually think I gave him 2 takedowns in that fight. But then, as the kind of second and third went on, you've seen that the more experience of Makhachev and the grappling aspect really came to fruition there, and he rightfully won that decision. I think I bet Tsarukyan at plus 300. Don't regret that shot at all, because, like I say, I had him winning the first round. But now you've got that step down in opponent here, where you're against Olivier Aubin Mercier, who I think his time in the UFC is maybe not far from being over, because I don't see, after the Dunham fight, Dunham was on his way out. Dunham can't take a body shot. We saw that in the Trinaldo fight, that if you paper that guy and you hit him with the right shot, you can knock him out. But I don't know. I wasn't definitely in his last 2 fights. He's just not looked. Let's see, now maybe it's Burns. Gilbert Burns is looking like he's making a run. He's finding his feet in the UFC, and he's putting it all together a little bit more. And he did in that fight. He outstruck him, mixed in takedowns, passed him very easily. And Gilbert Burns is a tough guy to face, because you can't really go to the ground and stay there all too long with a guy like that. And then in the Hernandez fight, he was just dogged in that. Like Hernandez, that was by the way, that was a terrible decision. I thought Trinaldo should have won that fight at the weekend, but it is what it is. He was very dogged and trying to get the takedowns, and he did that for the majority of the fight. What I do like about Mercier is his body kicks. I see it every video of his fights. Beautiful stinging body kicks that he has to be. That I think is one of his main weapons. But ever since he kind of had this persona of this Canadian gangster, I think he started to kind of fade off a little bit. And like for me, I'm maybe just looking too much into, because I'm such a big fan of Tsarukyan here. But I think Tsarukyan is just going to. I think he's going to beat him in every facet here, as long as he doesn't leave a limb out there where Aubin Mercier is going to catch him. I think Tsarukyan wins this fight very, very comfortably. And like I said with Evlev earlier on, who I think will be a ranked fighter, I think Tsarukyan will be a ranked fighter. And he's got a long way to go. I mean, you drop off from Makhachev, and they're giving you a name, not a big name in Mercier, but you're not dropping down to for instance, like Kyle Stewart or whatever I was talking about earlier on. This is a guy who's been in the UFC for a long time. He's had a lot of fights. I am super high on Tsarukyan here. Super, super high if you haven't already noticed. And a lot of people have been messaging me in this fight as well, saying, "Right, is this the same as the similar spot to the Nurdiev Rencounter fight where everybody's on Nurdiev and so on?" And that could be a case, but I think this kid's better than Nurdiev. I really do. I just think what I see with my eye, my one good eye, I should say, because this one's crap. But I just love his game. I think he's not going to have. I think his next three, 4 fights, that they're going to really mold him into being a good UFC fighter. And he's got that Makhachev fight behind him there, where maybe a couple of years down the line, he's the guy that he's one of the guys that maybe beats Makhachev, even though Makhachev's a very good fighter. But like I said, I'm super high on this guy. I don't max bet things very often, but I've been so tempted to max bet Arman Tsarukyan. He's minus 200 in one of the books over here in the UK, and he's stayed that way because I think the book's a little bit slow and moving. But I'm not one of these, max bet, da 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 da. That's not me. So I'm going to wait And I already have 2 plays in this card already, and I don't want to be going balls to the walls with max bets and so on. But I might find him in a parlay, piece him out, put him in there, and yeah. I'm going to go Arman Tsarukyan, maybe via stoppage, more likely decision. But I'm super high in this kid if you haven't already noticed. So yeah. Geoff Neal against Niko Price is up next. And Niko Price is going to be the dog of the week. Everybody on Twitter is already on him, and it's more. I think it's more of a case that the line is huge. I do think the line is a little bit off. Let me get that out there right now. I think he's plus 255. Like Geoff Neal's minus 310, but I can kind of see why Geoff Neal is minus 310, because I think he's like one of my favorite knockouts. I'll point that out is that. Razak Al Hassan knockout of Niko Price. I don't know what it is. I'm not a big Niko Price guy. I don't know what it is. The guy's a live dog. I know that, and he will fight for your money, I suppose. But like Tim Means must be looking back at that last fight, thinking, "What the hell was I doing?" Because he was piecing up Niko Price in that fight. But people have good times against it. Like Randy Brown was having a decent time against this guy before getting hit with punches from the bottom. The guy's obviously got some power, but he was getting pieced up pretty badly against Tim Means, and he was like really finding his feet in that fight, Tim Means, before getting caught with that massive shot. And that happens. In saying that, Niko Price came out really quick in that fight, kind of hit him with a nice, solid, long jab. But Tim Means was the one that was coming into that fight. He nailed the takedown. Everything, but then, yeah, the Al Hassan who I think is making a comeback soon, which I'm looking forward to. Those big athletic dudes, and I put Geoff Neal in this as well. Scary dudes with some big power. I just think that he will pick apart someone like Niko Price, but Niko, for as long as in the fight, you have to mind your P's and Q's. Don't fade against this guy because this guy keeps up a pace. So I think you can see where I'm going. Everybody seems to be on Niko Price because obviously he's an underdog and he will fight for your money. Like I said, I can only see that price going up. I would never play Geoff Neal at minus 310, but if I had to make a pick, if I had money to throw on it, it'd be obviously on Price. But like I said, I think Geoff Neal is just too big, too athletic, too quick. I think he will piece him apart with just better striking. But be careful and try not fade against this guy because Niko doesn't stop. So I've got Geoff Neal. But the popular underdog of this week is definitely going to be Niko Price. So Geoff Neal via I'm going to go knockout. There's nothing more I'd like to see more than Niko Price knocked out. So Geoff Neal will be a knockout for me. Co-main event, we've got Cyborg against Felicia Spencer. I'm still not high on Felicia Spencer, but she had a favourable matchup. I thought that Megan Anderson was going to keep that fight on the feet, completely rip her apart on the feet. But Felicia Spencer went ahead and did what Felicia Spencer does, and that's get the fight to the ground, and she can dominate you from there. And that's what she did. All it took was one takedown, one pass. She was already on the back, submission. But yeah, that's I don't see that happening here. I really don't. Cyborg, I think, is going to come out. She's going to want to rebound after that Amanda Nunes loss because that was pretty devastating for her, getting blasted out there in the first round. But Amanda Nunes is a hitter, and if you leave your chin and get too aggressive, Amanda's going to hurt you, and we've seen that as many times, and she's the GOAT. There's no doubt about it. Amanda Nunes is the best women's fighter of all time, and there's no disregard and kind of losing to a fighter of that caliber. But Cyborg is still up there, and she's still one of the hardest girls to face. And when you look at someone like Spencer, who, how many fights has she had? 6, 7 fights. And you look at Cyborg, who's been around for years, probably over 20 fights, and the skill sets that she possesses. I don't think her UFC run has been fantastic, but she's beat the girls that you would think she would beat. And I mean, she's looked dominant in the fights, like the Holly Holm fight. She looked dominant in that one, really pieced her apart. And then you're beating your Evan Joyce, your Landsberg, your Leslie Smith, Yana Kunitskaya. She's going to blast those girls at the road. I think she does that here with Felicia Spencer. So I'm going to pick Cyborg. I'm going to go first round knockout for Cris Cyborg there. If it gets to the ground, I think she can do enough to definitely nullify someone like Spencer, because I think she's a black belt herself. So Cyborg via round 1 TKO there. Main event of the night, Max Holloway against Frankie Edgar. I've got Max Holloway in this fight here. I think that when I look at it, I'm like, I really struggle to see how Frankie Edgar wins this fight. Not unless he just mixes everything up. He's striking to his wrestling to doing other stuff. But I say this every time when Max Holloway fights. I think he makes great adjustments through the fights. And what was the show I was watching last night? Beyond Octagon with John Gooden and Dan Hardy. Dan Hardy is just a great guy to listen to. And he probably gives a chance at how maybe Frankie Edgar could possibly win this fight. And he also talks about how Max Holloway makes those reads and then he starts to pick you apart. Kind of like the Ortega fight where he's telling like, you need to lift your hand here and so on. He makes great reads. He did that in the Aldo fights as well, where he just made adjustments. And then once he got his feet kind of planted and set, he absolutely bludgeoned Jose Aldo to death. But like I say, Holloway made that move up to 155, fought a very close fight with Dustin Poirier. I'm one of these people that people say, oh, Dustin Poirier won clearly. I'm kind of on the other side. I think initially when I first watched it, I thought Holloway was in with a chance of winning that fight. I still think it was really close. I'm happy that Dustin won because Dustin deserved it to get a gold strap around his waist no matter what. But there was a lot of output in that fight, a lot of Max. Max, when he moves to 155, he's going to be a tough guy to face because he needs to put on that mass to kind of last in that division. He took a lot of damage in that fight, and that's what happens with Poirier fights, by the way. But super high output. I think Frankie Edgar's been asking to be knocked out for a long time. I know Ortega got him. But to me, I think that if Frankie can't... I just struggle to see how he definitively wins rounds. I don't think he's going to outwork Max Holloway. I don't think he's going to out-grapple Max Holloway, who's got really good chokes as well. We've seen that in the past, vicious chokes. And he's, like I say, I just don't think he's going to out-grapple him. I just don't think he's going to outstrike him. I think the output of Max Holloway is absolutely legendary, and he's shown that in the Aldo fights, showed it especially in the Ortega fight, and he showed it in the Poirier fight. The guy is one of the best in the sport, period. And he's still only 27 years old, I believe. 27, 28. So the kid is one of the best in the sport. I think he will be a UFC lightweight champion. But he just has to fully commit to moving to that division and put on the mask to stay in that division. I really struggle to see where Edgar just wins this fight. And like I say, I think he can be chin-checked. And I think he's been asking to be knocked out for a little bit. Like I said, Ortega did it. But, yeah. That's maybe if he gets like Dan Hardy says, he's one of the best kind of well-rounded mixed martial arts guys we've ever had, with his jiu-jitsu to his wrestling to his striking. Super solid. I just think it's the blessed era at 145. And it's like I just think he's really going to struggle here against Max Holloway, and I've got Max Holloway. I'm going to pick him via knockout. I think that he's going to start landing big bombs. I mean, he's going to knock him out clean. So I've got Max Holloway in the middle part of this fight, rounds 3 or 4, via TKO. So that's my picks for UFC 240. Really enjoyed talking about that card, by the way. So yeah, we are back next week for UFC in New Jersey, I believe it is. Colby Covington against Robbie Lawler. Looking forward to talking that fight next week. I don't think it's the greatest of cards, but it's a good main event, I suppose. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you as always for you guys. I see you guys in the chat there. What is up? Hope you make some serious money this week. Hopefully I can get back on after losing a few units last weekend. But until next week, enjoy the fights, enjoy the card. Win big your bets, win big on DraftKings. All the very, very best, and I will catch you all very, very soon.